It's okay, no problem. So we can start. So the unit is public procurement course, and this course is for level 1. So at the end of this course, we will be able to understand many things that are related to public procurement. And basically, when we are talking about public procurement, we are basing our fact with what the government is doing. And the government of the day is trying as much as possible to ensure that the process of procurement in their institution is free and transparent, and it is not biased or discriminative against maybe suppliers. So the government decided to come up with the various issues of various policy documents for purposes of supporting activities in government. So at the end of this unit, we will be able to understand what is public procurement. And we shall also be able to discuss the evolution of public procurement. And when we talk about evolution, we are talking about the stages that public procurement has undergone over the years, and basically where we are currently in terms of the processes in public procurement. Then the other thing we will talk about is public procurement reforms in Kenya. So we've been having reforms over the years, and these reforms have enabled the government to streamline the processes within the various institutions or procurement functions. Then public procurement guiding principles. For you to succeed in public procurement, there are some principles that normally guide you as a procurement practitioner when doing all this. Then we have the role of public procurement on social economic development. So here we are talking about public procurement and social development. So when you're talking about procurement, also you need to look at the social factors are the same as the economic factors. And these also will take us through what is called sustainable public procurement. And sustainability is all about ensuring that what you produce is not going to harm any individual or the public at large. Chapter 2 is about legislative and regulatory framework. And here we are talking about the legal and regulatory framework. These are some of the rules that guide practitioners when they are practicing public procurement. And this will take us through maybe the Constitution. We'll be able to understand the Constitution of Kenya and some of the articles that support public procurement. Then we shall also be looking at the objectives of public procurement regulatory framework. What will the framework achieve at the end of the day? We shall be able to talk about that. Then we shall also talk about the types of public procurement, the public sector organization. And here we'll understand that the government nowadays is divided into two, where we have the central government and we have the county government. Then chapter 3 is about public procurement bodies in Kenya. And these are bodies that help to regulate the functionality of public procurement in Kenya. And that is why we have different bodies that help to do this. The first body is the National Treasury, which is normally referred to as the Ministry of Finance. And the work of National Treasury is to come up with policies that will help in support of public procurement activities. Then the second body is the Public Procurement Regulatory Authority. And this is a body corporate which has perpetual existence. And the Public Procurement Regulatory Authority is in charge of monitoring what happens in these public entities. Then we have another body, which is the Public Procurement Administrative Review Board. And the purpose of this board basically is to hear claims when they arise. In the event that a supply is not satisfied, the board will be able to do that. Then we have the Kenya Institute of Supplies Management. And here we are talking about the body corporate which supports the practitioners in terms of registration, in terms of training, and other issues. And within the body, within Kenya Institute of Supply Management, we have the Kenya Institute of Supplies Examination Board. And this is the board that helps in ensuring that people are able to be assessed and given certification so that they become practitioners. And that is what exactly you are doing right now. Then we shall also look at county governments in procurement function. Chapter 4 will be talking about the general procurement principles and rules. We'll be able to understand more about the rules and more about the regulations in public procurement. Chapter 5 is about organization of procurement in public sector. And when we talk about organization of procurement, we are looking at how the structure of public sector is in terms of procurement. And here we shall be looking at the accounting officer. What does the accounting officer do? What does the procurement function do? What does the agents do? And things like that. And also we shall be talking about consortium buying and the sector-specific procurement, etc. Chapter 6 is about procurement method for goods, services, and works. And here we will be able to understand some of the thresholds or some of the metrics. And when you're talking about threshold, we are talking about the amount that various procurement methods are supposed to. You are supposed to use which method in procuring of goods, works, and services, and how much can go to a certain procurement method. And in procurement method, we shall also be looking at different procurement methods. For example, we can look at open tendering, which is the most preferred procurement method. We can look at direct procurement. We can look at e-reverse auction. We can look at force accounts and others. Then chapter 7, we will be talking about procurement of consultancy services. Remember, in government, in one way or another, they use services. And these services can either be general service or specific services that require specific skills. If that is the case, then they have to hire the services of a consultant. But before they hire the service of a consultant, they must give a notice of expression of interest. And within the expression of interest, the consultants must affirm that indeed they are interested by filling the expression of interest and submitting the same to the procuring entity before they are given the document, which is known as the Procurement of Consultancy Service Document, or normally referred to as RFP, Request for Consultancy.
Quotation.
Yeah, not quotation. RFP, Request for Consultancy. Sawa?
Yeah.
Okay. We shall also understand some of the methods that are normally used when selecting consultants. Then chapter 8, we have public procurement contracts. We have public procurement contracts. So public procurement contracts are entered every day. And it is very important to understand how to prepare some of these contracts or how to create some of these contracts. Very, very important. Then publication of procurement contract amendment or variation of contracts. We have framework contracting. We shall also be able to understand such issues. The issues of payment also, we shall talk about them. And issues of contract management or contract administration. Chapter 9 talks about preference and reservation schemes in procurement. Remember, the government of the day has set aside 30% of all procurement contracts to be for people living with disability, the women and the marginalized in society. Therefore, the Act has preserved 30% for this category. And these categories are normally referred to as the marginalized or the minorities who are given a chance. For example, the youths form part of this category. The women are part of this category, local contractors, and others. How then do we implement preference and reservation? So we will also talk about that. Chapter 10, we will be able to talk about inventory control, asset and store management and distribution. So here we will be able to understand the reasons as to why organizations hold inventory. Even though inventory is considered a waste, but most organizations hold inventory. Then we have stores management and stock control, and also we have receiving and recording of goods, services, and works. We shall also talk about that and stores management. Then chapter 11 is about administrative review and disposal proceedings. Here we shall understand what happens during review of proceedings, what happens during disposal proceedings, how do we appeal, how can a supplier appeal, what are some of the processes that are followed when hearing, and what normally is considered when determining a case during the hearing, whenever a supplier is faced with maybe dissatisfaction of a certain procedure that occurred. Then chapter 12 is ethics in public procurement. Ethics in public procurement. Ethics here, we will be talking about the moral behavior, or some of the things that you need to consider as a procurement practitioner when doing procurement. And ethics is very critical. And when you look at ethics, you realize that most firms have the code of conduct, which is very, very important. So what happens when you debar a bidder? Debarment is all about, it's like you don't want a certain bidder to be part of a certain procurement process, maybe because of issues of bankruptcy or issues of corruption and other things. Chapter 13 is about accountability, responsibility, and authority of public procurement. Here we shall be talking about the various responsibilities of various officers when it comes to public procurement. Then chapter 14 is on emerging issues and trends in public procurement. Emerging issues and trends in public procurement.